day, folks. Jonathan Milam here with a marvelous little cornet, Conn 80A. I'm going to start playing right away. This is a Bach 7C. I'm going to use several mouthpieces today. This is one of the most mouthpiece sensitive horns that you can find. So they say on the Conn Loyalist, and I agree. I'm going to start off, as I say, with a Bach 7C, perfectly average mouthpiece. And I'm going to try 3 shallower and 3 larger as well to give you the full dark tone as well as the more piercing sound. This one, as they say, will peel paint. But we'll start off with the Bach 7C. Very simple worship chorus, just to highlight the tone of the cornet. Pretty tone, isn't it? Now I'm going to go to a Curry D, C, deep C, a little mellower tone. Okay, and we'll go to one of my favorites now, the Curry VC Vintage Cornet. Very breathy sound, and one that I really do like. And then the largest cornet mouthpiece I've got, really almost like a flugel mouthpiece. It's the BBC, Curry's BBC. I think it's a 19 drill for the backboard. Quite a nice size piece. Great, hearty, dark, full, creamy tone, if you please. Okay, let me just take a moment and talk about the cornet. One of the most consistently used models by Conn through the early to mid 1900s. I think they started making this in the teens, 1917, seems like I saw. And I'm getting most of my information from the Conn Loyalist. And they made it well through the 50s, I think into the 60s. So we're talking 50 years. Just amazing. They had some differences, and the great thing about this, of course, is you've got the little tuning piece here that is just very, very nice. Of course, you've got the main tuning slide here, and you've got your third, second, and of course, first. Notice anything? There's no pull for the third slide. And as Christine Dirksen says, just a ton of great material at the Conn Loyalist. They made this third slide a little bit longer because there's no pull for it. So just interesting part there. On some of the older ones, and this is from 1937, on some of the older ones, early 30s and the teens and 20s, they actually had a rod here where when you changed this, it also adjusted the first and third slides. And they just call it the mechanism. But at any rate, this cornet, very, very simple. Obviously, you know, you don't have your shepherd's crook or anything like that. Do love this tuning option. The closer you get to the bell of the horn, the more accurate the intonation becomes for the whole horn. Of course, you can tune with the main tuning slide or with this piece here. Strangely enough, when I got this cornet in, none of the slides pull. The main tuning slide does not pull, the third, the second, the first. I've worked with them, tried to oil them up a little bit. I paid $65 for this thing. I'm not going to spend, you know, $200 or $300 getting the slides pulled, and they are really, really stuck. So, but the only thing that works, thank God, is the little tuning wheel here. And so that works for me. No pull slide for the third, so you're at somewhat of a disadvantage there. The other thing I wanted to point out about this horn, so unique. Cornets, of course, have got a very small receiver. If you take your trumpet mouthpiece and you hold it up to the tip of a cornet mouthpiece, the trumpet is noticeably larger because the receiver, the lead pipe on a trumpet, is larger. Cornet, it's very small at front. This, I believe they said, was about 460 when you got to the top leg of the tuning slide, 484 at the bottom, 484 thousandths, almost half an inch at the bottom here. That's huge. Most trumpets are 4.459. This winds up with a 0.484. That's the size of a small tenor trombone. Huge bore. So you've got a very conical instrument, very small here, very large when you're getting into the bell area. And the largeness starts at the bottom of the tuning slide. So all through the valve block, through the slides, you've got a very large sound. You can put out a goodly amount of volume with this. And the one thing that I wanted to share with you at the moment was pedal tones. Pedal tones. And I've still got a few mouthpieces to go to show you the clear, piercing, paint peeling ability of the cornet. But I wanted to talk for a moment about pedal tones. I played all through high school for several years afterwards. Then I essentially quit playing for about 20 years. Picked it up again in my 40s and been playing about 10 years since then. Certainly not a professional by anyone's standards, but I enjoy trumpets. Somewhere along the line, I heard of pedal tones, and I thought, pedal tones? I knew those were associated with trombones, but never had heard of it with a trumpet. When you get down to your low B flat, you can actually jump an octave lower. Of course, I know you can finger down to the G flat. Then you get nothing without a fourth valve until you hit your pedal tones, which sound like this. That's your B flat, and then you jump an octave down. And you've got about 5 notes that you can play there. Well, anyway, you can do the open B, B flat, A flat G, and a G flat. What I wanted to show you was, I heard somebody talking about double pedals, and I had just learned occasionally how to play a pedal tone. Very hard to loosen, soften your lips enough to get the pedal tone. When they said a double pedal, I said, hogwash. Thought it was a bunch of baloney. There is a double pedal, and I can get it on a good day occasionally. What's the benefit? I'll tell you in just a moment, but I'll try and reach the second double low pedal tone. Here's your B flat. And the pedal first. You can actually go an octave lower. and that is your double pedal. What's the benefit of that? To be honest, here's how I use the pedal tones. If I've been playing quite a while and I'm working the upper register, I do tend to press a little bit hard. Well, I'll use the pedal tone to force myself to relax, because to get a pedal, I can only get it when I'm very lightly touching the mouthpiece. My lips have to be very flexible and very lightly touching. And I'll use that to force myself to back off the pressure of the mouthpiece and to relax a little bit. Of course, you're jumping down about 2 or 3 octaves, so that in itself can be a change. The double pedals, same thing. I can only play them with the most minute of forcing my lips. Really, it's barely keeping my lips against the trumpet mouthpiece or cornet that allow me to get that double pedal. When I've reached that double pedal, I am fully relaxed, I am barely touching the mouthpiece, and I want to carry over that light touch when I get back into the upper range. It's a constant challenge with most of us, certainly with me, but the pedals help me to relax my lips, to force them to let the blood begin to flow really well, and I find a tremendous benefit with that. Okay, one other thing I wanted to mention, there's not a pinky hook on these horns. Conn only had them on a few horns during the 30s and before that in the 20s and 19s. Nowadays, you'll see a lot of them they'll have a brass or silver piece placed on them, but originally they didn't. Again, this prohibits you from using that claw that pulls the mouthpiece into you. To play this thing, you almost have to put your thumb in the right spot between the first and second slides or valves and play the horn regularly. I almost always wrap my thumb around the first when I've got that pinky hook. Just a bad, lazy decision, but a lot of people do that. But when you do get a horn without that pinky hook, it forces you to play properly. Just kind of interesting. Okay, I've got a few mouthpieces to go. Getting into the shallower, they're easier for the upper register, but it'll show you what this cornet will do as far as sitting in with the trumpet clan quite nicely. The first smaller one that I'm going to use is a, well, I guess I can go with the, we'll do the one that came with it. It's a Conn 6. Very small mouthpiece. Conn used a short shank, they call it, prior to the 50s. And this is beautiful mouthpiece. It's about the size of a 7C, maybe a little bit flatter rim. Very nice size cup, but quite a thin throat and backbore. I'm guessing it's a 28 throat. It looks quite small. Same song, we'll bring it up a fourth and show you how the sound gets consistently more clear and cutting. Use 2 Reeves mouthpieces here. This is his MPC. Lastly, I'm going to use what I think is marked as Reeves's MM. Quite a shallow cup, nice open throat, but again, it's got the tighter backbore, either a tight 27, maybe a 28, it looks like. could challenge the trumpet section with this. Hope you've enjoyed it. Again, that's Conn's 80A. There are a ton of these around, and they are an enjoyable, different horn to play. With their small lead pipe and receiver, large in the body, it's a unique horn to have. Thanks so much for tuning in. Hope you have a great day.